Is the Big 12 a backup plan for Colorado? The CU chancellor had some interesting things to tell USA Today, so let's go ahead and break them down. Phil DiStefano, chancellor at Colorado, he talked with USA Today's Brent Schrotenboer last week about a number of different things. Among them, the excitement Deion Sanders has brought to the football program, what's going on with the Pac-12, etc. Obviously, we've been following this realignment stuff for quite some time, so getting the Colorado chancellor on the record shortly after Andrew Marchand reported to watch the Buffs as a school that could leave for the Big 12, well, that's a pretty big deal, and it's obviously something that we're going to pay attention to here. So did he give us anything noteworthy? Maybe if you can decipher this code that he's putting out there. They start the article, third among Power 5 conferences. So not only more than the Big 12's $31 million annual per school average, but also the ACC's $36 million per school average. And of course, why not just throw in there that you want a shorter 5 to 7 year contract? That's been all the talk. Obviously, Nick Khan used to be with CAA. He's now the president of WWE. He said that he would recommend a shorter term contract. I don't know that I believe that ESPN or Fox or any of the big names are going to go for that. I find all of this rather hard to believe after following the story so closely. A deal like that would shock all of the major media members that can't seem to make these puzzle pieces of money and linear fit together, right? But they continued on. It said a shorter contract would provide flexibility amid a turbulent media industry that's been disrupted by internet streaming services. He said, I think in 5 years we'll get a much better feel for streaming services. And by the way, DiStefano's been at Colorado since 2009, so he's been through a lot of this. He said that's changing so much, and it's going to put us in a position to pick up some things that maybe we're not going to get at this point. Okay, so basically he's saying that the intrigue with streaming is there. But as I've said this before, you don't hire Deion Sanders and change your academic requirements just to put the football program behind an Apple paywall. And we'll get to the academic stuff in a bit, but this whole situation about putting us in a position to pick up some things that maybe we're not going to get at this point, what is he talking about? What exactly are we? Is he talking money? Is he talking linear with the streaming services? How? I'm very curious what he meant by that. And of course, USA Today didn't push him, but it is what it is. The article then moves on to whether or not Colorado would leave to join the Big 12. Quote, in short, DiStefano says he wants the Pac-12 to expand back to 12 schools after UCLA and Southern California leave for the Big 10 next year. He pooh-poohed the notion of joining the Big 12. That's interesting, right? He pooh-poohed the idea of joining the Big 12. Now, let's go see what he actually said here. If you scroll a little bit, they get into talk of potentially leaving the Pac-12. The quote is, nobody's asked us. I shouldn't even say that. We're committed to the Pac-12, he said. What I've said, along with the other presidents and chancellors, is we're not even going to think about going anywhere, none of us, until we see what kind of offer we get, and that's still being worked out. And I'm confident it's going to be fine. I'm sure that he's confident it's going to be fine. I'm sure he's been told that. But does that sound like somebody that poo-poohed joining the Big 12? He mentioned nobody's asked us and then said, I shouldn't even say that. The Big 12 isn't going to just ask them. Invitations don't go out until everything else is done. Not to mention the fact that the Pac-12 is still in the middle of a TV deal. Typically, the school has to reach out to another conference to ask them for an invitation. That happened with Texas A&M and Missouri back in the day. It was the same with Texas and Oklahoma. They reached out to the SEC first, and then the SEC met and invited them. It was the same thing with USC and UCLA. They reached out to the Big Ten, and then the Big Ten invited them, right? The school contacts the conference's school presidents vote, and then they extend an invitation. Look back last summer, Oregon and Washington went and met with Big Ten officials in Chicago last summer, and then there was no invitation. That's the way that this works. And just to put a bow on this part, he didn't say no to the Big 12. He said, we're committed to the Pac-12, and then reaffirmed that we're not going to even think about going anywhere until we see what kind of offer we get. I don't know about you guys, but that does not sound like poo-pooing to me. It sounds like a wise business decision. Like, if there's a chance the new media rights deal is worth more than what the Big 12 schools are getting, they'd obviously be foolish to leave. Like, I think it's wishful thinking, but, it is what it is. The quote there, we're not going to even think about going anywhere until we see what kind of offer we get. That doesn't say we're not going anywhere. That says we're not going to think about going anywhere until we see the offer. Like, it's completely different. This is not poo-poohing or what. I mean, there's got to be a better way to say that, but it is cracking me up. The writer does go on to say that DiStefano noted how the Big 12 has only one school in the prestigious AAU, the Association of American Universities, and that's Kansas, unlike the Pac-12, which has several, including Colorado. He also said that Colorado has far more alumni engagement at football games in California cities than it ever had in Big 12 cities. I don't necessarily know that I believe that, and even if I did, how much alumni engagement came from L.A., which will not be in the Pac-12 footprint now, and how much does he believe they'll get in the Bay Area in the future when there's hundreds of fans watching in Berkeley and Palo Alto? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that there's more Colorado alumni in Silicon Valley than in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and Lubbock, Texas, or whatever, but how much does alumni engagement really matter in the grand scheme of things when you're trying to balance a budget, right? We're talking about athletics money. The academics is something that we've talked about for quite some time. Obviously, Pac-12 is known for their academics, but that does not equate to viewers on TV, and it kind of goes against what the school has now done with their football program. Like, in the same article, the chancellor admitted that the school's academic requirements were holding back the football program. So what did they do? Well, I mean, obviously, if they're concerned with academics, they likely would do exactly what Stanford has done, right? Football's not that important, so whatever coach we bring in, they can just figure it out. And we don't have to win. We're just gonna make something out of it. Nope. They hired Deion Sanders. And when he was announced as head coach, DiStefano himself announced a new pilot program that would ease academic restrictions for all students, not just athletes, seeking to transfer to CU from other four-year colleges. So which one is really more important? That's an interesting question, right? And of course, in the article, they had to bring up expansion because, I mean, why wouldn't you? Aside from media rights negotiations, that's been the other hot topic with the Pac-12. Y'all have to excuse me, my allergy is killing me now. DiStefano said, I would like to have 12 schools. But the article states, quote, a big issue, he said, would be whether those schools would bring enough revenue to other benefits, would bring enough revenue and other benefits to the league to justify their getting an equal cut of the revenue pie. Now, he noted that neither San Diego State nor SMU are AAU schools, which is important to the league presidents and chancellors in charge. On the other hand, San Diego State did really well in basketball, DiStefano said, as if that matters. He said they have a new stadium in football, a good Southern California market. Dallas is a good area for recruiting, right? So there's other reasons to bring in these schools. And he said, and just for good measure, they did happen to bring up the media rights deal again in this article. This quote, he said, he said, expansion depends on the new media deal, which is getting close. Have we not heard this for a while? Like, the deal is close, likely a couple weeks away. Should be done by mid-March. It's now late April. Like, if they want to add San Diego State in expansion, the deadline is July 1st, I believe. Otherwise, a buyout's going to be owed to the Mountain West Conference. So not only do they have to get a media deal done, they have to get invitations out to San Diego State and SMU. Like, they are in a time crunch at this point. And I know that we've already heard that it's going to be late summer, etc., before this thing gets done. Or I guess it'll stretch into the summer. How about that? This guy seems a little all over the place. Academics are important, but so is football, and et cetera, right? If you are worried about your football program, you can't have them on a streamer. If you were worried about your football program, you can't sign a crap deal, right? This is going to get more interesting going forward. I can't wait to see exactly what's going to happen with Colorado because, again, he didn't say no to the Big 12. But it's interesting that he decided to come out and speak. I think he assumed that this was going to be an interview that was only about football and only about Deion Sanders and the spring game and all this because it was right up against the spring game. But instead, he had to talk about this other stuff, and he got put on record. So will he be made to look like Robbins at Arizona, et cetera? Like, is he going to look like those guys? We shall see. It's rather bold to come out and say that you think you're going to get higher than $36 million per school in a revenue deal. I don't believe it, but we'll see.
Hey, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and of course, jump in the comments.
Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter at GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me, Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.